February 1959. The Ural Mountains, deep Soviet territory. 9 hikers, experienced, trained, disciplined, entered the mountains. Only their bodies came back. Their leader was Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student who had survived expeditions far more brutal than this one. The group had done this before. They knew the mountains. They respected the cold. They were not afraid. And then, on the night of February 2nd, something changed. Something terrified them so completely, so instantly, that they took knives and cut their way out of their own tent from the inside. They didn't use the entrance. They didn't pack their gear. They ran into the darkness in minus 30 degrees Celsius cold, without shoes, without coats, without a plan. Most of them never came back, and the ones who did were found in ways no one could explain. When the group missed their return date, families raised the alarm. Rescue teams were dispatched into the mountains. Days later, they found the tent. It was half buried in snow, abandoned. But here's what made searchers stop cold. The tent had not been opened from the entrance. It had been sliced open from the inside. Multiple cuts, deliberate, desperate. From the tent, 9 sets of footprints led down the slope of the mountain. Walking at first, calm, controlled, barefoot or wearing only socks, in temperatures cold enough to kill a person in minutes. These were not panicked people stumbling into the dark. They walked in a line, as if following something, or running from something they didn't want to disturb. About 1.5 kilometers from the tent, rescuers found the first 2 bodies. 2 men, barefoot, frozen solid, near the remains of a small fire, burned out long before it could save them. Above them, the bark on a nearby pine tree was stripped all the way to the top, as if someone had climbed it in a frenzy, desperately trying to see something in the distance. 3 more bodies were found not far away, including Dyatlov himself. They had turned back, crawling toward the tent. They never reached it. At this point, investigators assumed hypothermia, a tragic mistake in the mountains. Then they found the last 4, buried under 4 meters of snow in a nearby ravine. And this is where the case stops making sense. The final 4 hikers did not die from the cold. One had a shattered ribcage, the kind of damage associated with high-speed vehicle collisions. Another had a crushed skull. One woman was missing her tongue and part of her lips and her eyes. And yet, there were almost no external wounds, no cuts, no bruising on the skin, just catastrophic internal trauma. Forensic experts said the force required to cause those injuries would have needed to be enormous. Non-human, some suggested, like being hit by a pressure wave. And then came the detail that changed everything. Some of their clothing tested positive for radioactive contamination. Low levels, but present. In the middle of a mountain wilderness in 1959. Investigators were caught in a trap. Every theory explained some things, but not all of them. Avalanche, the most logical answer. Except the tent was barely dusted with snow when rescuers arrived, and the footprints were still visible. No avalanche had hit that site. Secret military test. The radiation. the internal injuries consistent with a pressure blast, the Soviet government's silence. Was the group caught in the path of a covert weapons experiment? Infrasound. Some researchers believe strong wind conditions in the mountains can produce low-frequency sound waves, infrasound, that trigger irrational panic, paranoia, even hallucinations. This would explain why 9 experienced hikers fled their tent without reason. The lights in the sky. Multiple witnesses across the region reported unusual glowing orbs in the sky around the time of the incident. These sightings were later confirmed in Soviet military records to match test launches of R-7 ballistic missiles. Was the group, trained engineers, some of them, terrified by something they mistook for a threat, or something they recognized and knew was deadly? None of these theories fully account for the missing tongue, or the radiation, or why the Soviet government classified sections of the case file for over 30 years. The Soviet investigation ended quietly. The official conclusion stated that the hikers had died due to an unknown compelling force. No elaboration, no accountability. Case closed. 9 people, trained, experienced, prepared for the worst the Ural Mountains could offer. And something, in the dark, on a frozen slope, in the dead of a Soviet winter, broke all of them. The tent is long gone. The mountain still stands. The files have been partially released. Partially. And the one question that no document, no expert, no theory has ever answered: what did they see that made freezing to death look like the safer option?